The morning sun felt too warm against my skin as I stood at my study window, watching Daniel's BMW pull into the driveway. My hands were shaking. Not from age, I was 65. Not 90, but from something else. Something I'd been trying to ignore for weeks. I'd spent 40 years as an architect, designing buildings where every detail mattered, where a single miscalculation could mean disaster. That training taught me to notice things. Small things. Wrong things. And lately, everything about my son's behavior felt wrong. The coffee in my mug had gone cold. I'd been standing here for 20 minutes, just staring at the street, at my house reflected in the neighbor's window across the way. This house I'd designed myself 30 years ago. This house where I'd raised Daniel after his mother died. This house that suddenly didn't feel like home anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from Jerry, my college roommate. Flights booked. Colorado, here we come. 2 weeks of fishing and lying about the old days. You better not bail on me again. I should have been excited. I should have been packing. Instead, I was remembering what Dr. Henry Park had said to me 3 days ago. Henry lived 2 doors down, had been our family physician for 20 years. He'd stopped me at the mailbox, his usually cheerful face serious. Robert, I need to tell you something, and I'm probably breaking a dozen privacy rules, but he'd glanced around, lowered his voice. Someone called my office last week, asking about cognitive decline assessments. Wanted to know what tests we run, how we document incompetency. They mentioned your name. My stomach had dropped. Who? The receptionist didn't get a name. But Robert, the voice was female, and she seemed very familiar with your medical history. Details only family would know. Melissa, my daughter-in-law. The thought had been sitting in my chest like a stone ever since. I'd tried to dismiss it. Tried to tell myself there was an innocent explanation. Maybe they were worried about me. Maybe I had been forgetting things. I was 65. It happened. But then I'd noticed other things. The way Daniel had been asking about my will lately. Casual questions, but too many of them. Dad, when did you last update your estate plan? Do you remember where you keep your patent documents? Have you thought about setting up a trust? The way Melissa had started accompanying me to the bank. Just being helpful, she'd say with that bright smile. But I'd caught her photographing my pin when she thought I wasn't looking. The way they'd moved into my guest house 6 months ago. Just until we find the right property to develop, Daniel had said. But they'd shown no signs of leaving. And I'd overheard Melissa on the phone. We just need a few more months, once we have everything in place. I took a sip of cold coffee and grimaced. Through the window I watched Daniel get out of his car. He was on his phone, laughing at something. My son. The baby I'd held at 3 in the morning when he couldn't sleep. The kid I'd taught to throw a baseball. The young man who'd cried on my shoulder when his first business failed. When had he learned to lie to me? My phone buzzed again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Mr. Caldwell? This is Sarah Chen from Valley Title Company. I'm calling about the property transfer documents that were submitted yesterday. We just need to verify a few signatures before we proceed. My hand tightened on the phone. I didn't submit any property transfer documents. A pause. Oh, well, we have documents here transferring 2847 Ocean View Drive to Daniel Caldwell with your signature. That's my house. I didn't sign anything. Another pause. Longer this time. Mr. Caldwell, I think you should come down here, and you might want to bring a lawyer. The line went dead. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, staring at nothing. They were trying to steal my house, while I was living in it. The shaking in my hands got worse. I set down the coffee mug carefully, afraid I'd drop it. My mind was racing, architect's brain automatically shifting into problem-solving mode. Evidence. I needed evidence. I needed to document everything. I needed to know how bad this was. I pulled up my banking app. My checking account looked normal. Savings account, wait. There had been $48,000 in there last month. Now there was $31,000. I'd made no withdrawals. I checked my investment portfolio. 3 of my blue chip stocks had been sold last week. $17,000 transferred to. I clicked through the transaction details. Transferred to an account ending in 4,782. I didn't recognize it. My chest felt tight. I made myself breathe slowly, evenly. Panic wouldn't help. I needed to think. I opened my laptop and started searching through my documents folder. My original patent documents for the Caldwell modular system, the architectural design framework I'd developed and licensed for the past 20 years, my primary source of retirement income, were gone. The folder was empty, but I kept backups. I opened my external hard drive. Those files were gone too. Someone had deleted them. Someone with access to my computer. I stood up, walked to my filing cabinet, the locked filing cabinet where I kept hard copies of everything important. The key was in my desk drawer, where it always was. I unlocked the cabinet. The patents folder was gone. So was the folder with my will, and my property deeds, and my insurance policies. Everything, all of it, gone. I sank into my desk chair, feeling like I'd been punched. This wasn't just theft. This was systematic. This was planned. This was my son. My own son was dismantling my life. The house phone rang. I stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Robert? A woman's voice, unfamiliar. This is Patricia Monroe from Lighthouse Senior Living. We received your application and deposit for our memory care unit. We'd love to schedule a tour. I didn't apply to any senior living facility. Oh. Well, we have an application here with your signature, and a $5,000 deposit was processed last week from your checking account. I closed my eyes. Who submitted the application? Let me see. It was delivered in person by your son, Daniel Caldwell. He seemed very concerned about your recent cognitive decline. He mentioned you've been having episodes of confusion, forgetting to take medication, getting lost while driving. None of that was true. Not one word. Ma'am, I need you to cancel that application. Someone is attempting to commit fraud. Oh my. Oh my goodness. Mr. Caldwell, I think you need to contact the police. After I hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. The sun had moved, and my study was in shadow now. I could hear voices outside Daniel and Melissa talking on the driveway. I couldn't make out words, but Melissa laughed at something. They were in my guest house. They had access to everything. My computer, my files, my mail. They'd been living here for 6 months, slowly, carefully, stealing my entire life while I slept 20 yards away. And in 3 days, I was supposed to be on a plane to Colorado, gone for 2 weeks. 2 weeks where they'd have complete access. 2 weeks to finish whatever they'd started. I thought about calling the police. But what would I tell them? My son stole some documents, signed my name on some papers. Without proof, it would be my word against his. And if they really were building a case that I was incompetent, senile, confused, every accusation I made would just reinforce their narrative. No, I needed evidence, real evidence, documented, irrefutable, time-stamped evidence. I needed to see what they were doing, all of it. Every conversation, every document, every step of their plan. And suddenly, I knew exactly what to do. I picked up my phone and called Jerry. About Colorado, I said. Something's come up. Medical thing. I need to postpone. Jerry's disappointment was clear, but he was understanding. We rescheduled for next month. Then I made another call. Daniel? Yeah, I'm afraid I can't make the Colorado trip. Doctor wants to run some tests. Blood work came back weird. He wants to do a full cardiac workup, might take a week or 2. No, don't worry. I'm sure it's nothing. But listen, since I'll be around, why don't you and Melissa take that San Francisco trip you've been talking about? Yeah, I'll be fine here. Go, enjoy yourselves. I'll just be going to doctor appointments. I could hear the excitement in his voice when he agreed. I could picture Melissa's smile when he told her. The old man would be gone during the day. They'd have free run of the house. Perfect. After I hung up, I sat very still, architect's mind already designing the surveillance system. Cameras in the study, the living room, the garage where I kept more files, audio recording devices. I'd need to rent an apartment nearby, somewhere I could monitor everything in real time. My phone buzzed. A text from Henry Park. Saw your car still in the driveway. Thought you'd be Colorado bound by now. Everything okay? I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed, "Can you come over? I need your help with something. And Henry, I need you to not mention this to anyone, including Daniel." His response was immediate. "Be there in 5 minutes." When I opened the door, Henry took one look at my face and said, "What happened?" I told him everything. The title company call, the missing files, the senior living application, the stolen money. By the time I finished, we were sitting in my study, and Henry's expression had gone from concerned to horrified. "Robert, this is elder abuse. This is criminal. You need to call the police right now." "With what evidence?" "Everything's gone. It's my word against theirs. But the title company, the bank records, which show transactions with my signature, which I can't prove I didn't authorize, not without a handwriting expert, which takes time. And every day I wait is another day they're moving money, changing documents, building their case that I'm incompetent." I leaned forward. "Henry, you know me. Have you seen any signs of cognitive decline?" "Of course not. You're sharp as ever." "Then help me prove it. I need to document what they're doing. I need to catch them in the act." Henry was quiet for a long moment. Then, "What do you need?" Over the next 2 days, with Henry's help, I transformed my house into a surveillance center. We installed wireless cameras, tiny ones, hidden in smoke detectors, bookshelves, picture frames. We placed audio recorders in lamps, under furniture. Henry used his laptop to set up a monitoring system that would stream everything to a cloud server. I rented a short-term apartment 3 blocks away. From there, I could watch my house in real time on my laptop. Every room, every conversation. I told Daniel I had doctor appointments scheduled all week, morning and afternoon. I'd be gone most of every day. They should feel free to use the house, make themselves comfortable. On Monday morning, I drove to my apartment, set up my laptop, and watched. For the first hour, nothing happened. Daniel left for work. Melissa took a yoga class. Normal suburban life. Then at 10:30, Melissa returned. She parked in the driveway, looked around carefully, and let herself into my house with her key. I leaned closer to the screen, heart pounding. She went straight to my study. I watched her pull out my desk drawers, one by one, searching through papers. She found my address book, the paper one I'd kept for 40 years, and photographed every page with her phone. Then she moved to my computer, logged in somehow. How did she know my password? And opened my email. She scrolled through months of correspondence, flagged certain emails, forwarded some to her own address. She was looking for something specific. Then she opened a spreadsheet on my computer, a detailed list of all my assets, bank accounts, investment portfolios, patent royalties, property holdings, everything. She spent 20 minutes updating the numbers, adding notes. My hands were clenched so tight my knuckles were white. She printed the spreadsheet. Then she deleted it from my computer, deleted it from the trash, deleted the backup from my cloud storage. She was thorough. If I hadn't been watching, I'd never have known it existed. As she was leaving, she paused by my filing cabinet, pulled out a key I didn't know she had, opened the bottom drawer, the one I rarely used, and pulled out a folder. My original will. The one I'd made 20 years ago, before digital copies were standard. The one that left everything to Daniel. She photographed every page. Then, very carefully, she pulled out a document that had been paper-clipped to the back. A newer will. The one I'd had drawn up 5 years ago, after Daniel's first failed business, where I'd split my estate between Daniel and several charities. I watched her separate these documents. She put the old will back in the drawer. The new will she folded and put in her purse. She'd just stolen my current will, leaving only the old version that gave Daniel everything. I was shaking again, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was rage. That afternoon, Daniel came home early. I watched him and Melissa sit at my kitchen table, and spread out documents. The spreadsheet she'd printed, bank statements, my patent licenses. "Did you get the medical records?" Daniel asked. Melissa pulled out another folder. "Dr. Park's nurse was happy to print them when I said I was helping coordinate your dad's care. I told her he'd been confused lately, forgetting appointments." Lies. All lies. Daniel flipped through the records. "Nothing here we can use." He's healthy, no signs of decline. That's why we need Dr. Morrison, Melissa said. He'll evaluate him and document whatever we need him to document. That's $5,000. It's worth it. Once we have a medical opinion of incompetency, we can file for conservatorship. Then we control everything. The house, the patents, all of it. Daniel hesitated. For just a moment I saw something in his face. Guilt? Doubt? But then Melissa reached over and squeezed his hand. Danny, we're drowning. The Seattle project went under. We owe $300,000, and the creditors are coming after our house. Your house. Our future. Your dad has millions just sitting there. He's 65 years old. He doesn't need all this. And someday it'll be yours anyway. We're just moving up the timeline. My son who I'd raised, who I'd sacrificed for, who I'd bailed out of debt twice before nodded slowly. You're right, he said. You're right. We need this. I wanted to reach through the screen and shake him. Instead, I hit the record button and saved the video file. Over the next week, I watched them dismantle my life. I watched Melissa call the patent office, pretending to be my secretary, asking about transfer procedures. I watched Daniel meet with a lawyer, not our family lawyer, a different one to discuss concern about my father's cognitive decline. I watched them bring a realtor through my house. While I was supposedly at a doctor's appointment, he's thinking about selling, Daniel told her. Downsizing, probably moving into assisted living soon. I watched Melissa practice my signature, over and over on a legal pad, until it was nearly perfect. I watched Daniel draft a power of attorney document with forged signatures. Every minute was documented, every conversation recorded, every lie captured in high definition. By Friday, I had 70 hours of footage. Bank fraud, identity theft, forgery, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, enough to send them both to prison. But I wasn't done. On Saturday morning I came home. My medical tests were complete, I told them. Everything came back fine. False alarm. Daniel seemed disappointed. Melissa's smile was tight. That evening, I called a family meeting. There's something we need to discuss, I said. We sat in my living room, the same room where I'd taught Daniel to read, where we'd celebrated his college graduation, where I'd welcomed Melissa into our family 7 years ago. I pulled out my laptop. I want to show you something, I said. I played the video, Melissa searching my study, the conversation about Dr. Morrison, the realtor walking through, Daniel practicing lies about my confusion. The color drained from Melissa's face. Daniel couldn't look at me. I canceled my Colorado trip, I said quietly, because Dr. Park warned me someone was asking about incompetency evaluations. I didn't want to believe it was you. I kept thinking there had to be another explanation. Danielle started. I'm not finished. My voice was steady. 40 years of presenting to clients, of defending designs, of staying calm under pressure. I spent the last week documenting everything. Every theft, every forgery, every lie. I have records of $17,000 transferred from my accounts without authorization. I have footage of Melissa stealing my will. I have recordings of you conspiring to have me declared incompetent so you could steal my patent rights. Melissa started crying. We were desperate. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. I closed the laptop. I've already been to the police. I filed a report yesterday. I've been to my lawyer. I've changed all my passwords, frozen my accounts, updated my will. I've retained a criminal attorney who specializes in elder abuse cases. Daniel's face went white. You're pressing charges? Against your own son? Yes, but I'm your family. Family doesn't drug people. Family doesn't forge documents. Family doesn't conspire to have their father declared insane so they can steal his life's work. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but I made myself stand straight. You have 1 hour to pack your things and get out of my guest house. If you're not gone by then, I'm calling the police. Melissa was sobbing now, full gasping sobs. Daniel just stared at me like he'd never seen me before. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe I'd always been soft where he was concerned, too forgiving, too willing to bail him out, to believe the best of him, to ignore the warning signs. Not anymore. They left within 45 minutes. I watched from my study window as they loaded their car, as Melissa cried, as Daniel looked back at the house one last time. I didn't go to the window. I didn't wave. I just watched them drive away. After they were gone, I sat in the silence of my house, my empty house, the house I'd designed, where I'd planned to grow old, where I'd imagined grandchildren visiting someday. That future was gone now. Henry came over that evening, brought Chinese takeout and beer. We didn't talk much. We just sat on my back deck, watching the sunset over the Pacific, eating lo mein straight from the containers. "You did the right thing," Henry said finally. "I know. Doesn't make it hurt less." No, it doesn't. The legal process took months. The district attorney was very interested in my case. Elder abuse prosecutions were a priority, she said. With my documentation, the case was airtight. Daniel and Melissa were charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, forgery, and attempted financial elder abuse. Melissa took a plea deal 3 years. Probation, restitution, community service. Daniel went to trial. I testified, presented my evidence, watched my son sit at the defendant's table and try not to meet my eyes. The jury convicted him in 4 hours. The judge gave him 5 years, suspended after 2 with good behavior. 2 years in prison for trying to steal from his father. Before sentencing, Daniel was allowed to make a statement. He stood, looked at me for the first time in months, and said, "Dad, I'm sorry. We were desperate, and we made terrible choices, but I never meant to hurt you. I love you. I hope someday you can forgive me." I didn't respond. I just nodded to the judge and left the courtroom. That was 8 months ago. Daniel is in a minimum security facility now. He calls sometimes. I let it go to voicemail. I'm not ready to talk to him yet. Maybe I never will be. Melissa divorced him 3 months into his sentence. I heard she moved back to Ohio to live with her parents. The house is quiet now. Too quiet. I've thought about selling it, moving somewhere smaller. But every room has memories, good memories, from before, and I'm not quite ready to let those go. I kept the appointment with Jerry. We went to Colorado last month, spent 2 weeks fishing and drinking beer, and not talking about the hard stuff. It helped. I've started designing again. Nothing major, just small projects. A renovation for Henry's kitchen, a backyard studio for a friend. It feels good to create something again, to see plans turn into reality. People ask me sometimes if I regret pressing charges, if I wish I'd handled it differently, if I think the punishment was too harsh. I tell them this wasn't about revenge. This was about justice. This was about drawing a line and saying, this far, no further. This was about protecting myself when no one else would. But late at night, when the house is dark and I can't sleep, I sometimes wonder about that other path. The one where I confronted Daniel, gave him a chance to make it right, maybe found a way to keep the family together. Then I remember watching him practice my signature, listening to him plan my incarceration in a memory care facility, hearing him reduce my entire life to a spreadsheet and decide it was worth more to him than I was. And I know I made the right choice. My lawyer told me that elder financial abuse is one of the fastest growing crimes in America, that children stealing from aging parents is more common than anyone wants to admit, that most victims never report it because of shame or fear or misplaced loyalty. I'm not ashamed. I was a victim, but I refused to stay one. I fought back. I documented. I prosecuted. If there's a lesson in this, it's that one. Trust is earned, not assumed, even from family, especially from family. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hold people accountable for their choices, even when it breaks your heart. Dr. Park still lives 2 doors down. We have dinner once a week now. He saved me with that warning. If he hadn't spoken up, hadn't broken protocol to tell me what was happening, I might have come home from Colorado to find myself locked out of my own house, my assets frozen, my life stolen while I was gone. One person speaking up made all the difference. I think about that a lot. The patents are secure now. The house is in an irrevocable trust. My will is updated and filed with 3 separate attorneys. My finances are locked down tighter than Fort Knox. But I'm not paranoid. I'm just careful. There's a difference. Jerry keeps telling me I should start dating again, get out more, stop living like a hermit. Maybe he's right. Maybe it's time to build something new instead of just protecting what's left. I don't know. What I do know is this. I'm 65 years old. I'm in good health. I have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of my life. I have friends who care about me. I have work that matters to me. I have a son in prison who might someday understand what he did and why it was wrong. Who might someday be someone I can have a relationship with again. But that's his work to do, not mine. My work now is to live well, to design beautiful things, to help other people avoid the trap I fell into, to be the kind of person who speaks up when something's wrong, who documents the truth, who fights for justice even when it costs everything. The afternoon sun is warm on my face as I stand at my study window, the same window where this all started. But I'm not shaking anymore. I'm not afraid. I'm building again. And this time, the foundation is solid.